All right, Michael and Abdul back again. You'll see that we're wearing the same shirts again
Yep.
because we're recording a couple of videos in a row as we have a Saturday afternoon to actually do some of this. As work's been a little bit crazy because of the mastermind, I think, partly. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, the power of mastermind groups and how they accelerate growth, right? So why don't, it's interesting because I'm the one in the mastermind, right? I go to this mastermind. It's called Seven Figure Agencies, run by Josh Nelson. I've been to a couple other masterminds. I think this one is by far the best because of the quality learning that you get, and obviously the people you meet as well. Right, that's a huge part of it. I will say though, like this is gonna be interesting to go through this. I guess this recording because it's Abdul's watching it from the outside occur
Yeah.
as I'm in it doing it, right? And then all of a sudden things happen and we're like, wow, that happened because of the mastermind, right? Or things like that. So let's talk a little bit. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you think mastermind groups are versus whatever anything else somebody might think of it that it is.
I think Josh's group, like you said, it is a really good one. I think I have also been member for a lot of mastermind groups, and I still am. But from my side, I'm more into like those strategic ones where it's like, they're like people learning about stuff. It's of like not on the kind of the JV focus. Because I think there are two main areas where masterminds focus on, right? There's one is a lot of where you have a lot of like-minded people, some of them really good at what they do. If they're in a mastermind, you're learning a lot of things. But some of those masterminds are just made for that. And the ones that I've normally been part of are like that, where it's just people like me, just kind of love technology, who love digital marketing or like programming, stuff like that, talking about stuff. Someone learns a new thing, gets spread out, having some mentoring sessions. But then there are some kind of masterminds where I've seen they're like more focused on there's a lot of learning happening and there's a lot of opportunity for business. And that I think depends on the type of audience they have, right? Like if they have an audience like me, JVs are not the kind of the main things that will be happening there, right? That's the main thing is okay, oh, I have this problem, let's figure this out. Everyone is jumping and helping each other. But I think where you have more of like with Josh is where you have agency owners, stuff like that, people like that in the group, that's kind of ripe for JVs to happen as well, right? Because you already, if someone has a solution that other people can benefit from, you have those kind of things happening. But like I said, I think on this side, right, definitely like for me, not being on the sales kind of a role or kind of doing the networking things that you have to be done, and not thankfully not having to do that is also kind of like I think I do see them being like really powerful because I think for WP Health especially like most of our kind of growth initially has come from this kind of a group and Josh's group and
Yeah.
other kind of JVs that we've done. I think masterminds, I think you can maybe expand on that more, but I do think that right now in the environment that we are in, where people are not that kind of trusting of ads, stuff like that, ad blindness is going up, stuff like that is going up. I think JVs, especially powered through mastermind groups, I do think they're like a very big exploration lever that people don't look at that much, especially at their starting days. You see a lot of people joining mastermind groups very late in their trajectory of growth, not very early on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with that's kind of the cool thing with Josh's group is he's I guess selling the idea of generating 100 businesses that are going to make over $1 million, right? To be to seven figures. That's his idea. And the reason I joined was not even for the benefits I'm getting, right? I was literally like, hey, do I niche down? Do I have to identify a niche that I need to go into? This is what everyone's been talking about for 5 years. Do I need to go do this? Right. So I went to his training, started doing it. I signed up. And then some of the side benefits actually started happening, which I was like, wow, all of these people in these groups are exactly what I should be focusing on as a white label digital marketing provider. For some reason, being dense as I am, I didn't even think of that. Right. And then I think for the WP help, I think what the biggest thing is Josh trusted us to try it with us, right? So he gave us a shot to do one of his websites. We turned it from 37 seconds down to 2 seconds, and he was like, "Whoa, okay, do that again." And then he gave us another site, and we did it again. He was like, "Okay, here's 4 more sites. Try it again." And then he gave us another 100 sites, right? And I don't. He's not the type of guy that's going to push something that he doesn't believe in. Um, And I think that's what's been kind of cool about how this joint venture even came. I wasn't even trying to have a joint venture until we built the solution that I felt like I was 100% honest talking to him about. And then we tried it and it's worked out. And now he's referred another big white label to, or another big JV to us. Now, I think there is a lot of power from this because I think masterminds are more like mentorship. That's how I think about them. And I think in my refereeing career, when I refereed high school basketball, I had a college mentor. When I was in college, I had an NBA mentor, right? And to get through those roadblocks you want to get through is much faster when you have somebody that's been there. And Josh Nelson's already been there. He owns a multi-million dollar agency. I want to be that guy. So that's why I joined, because I think mentorship can get you there. And that's what I think masterminds provide, is your ability to trust, have conversations and share information like blindly and not people judge you because you're all in the same space, and help you grow past different things. So I think that's kind of what the benefits are of what you get inside of a mastermind. And then, obviously the JVs. So like, how have you seen it occur? Because obviously I'm in it, right? I'd say we get 3 or 4 small partners, and then we got one big one. And then we got, another 5 or 6 small partners, and then we get one big one. And that's how we've gotten to, how many sites do we have now?
I think we right now have in WP around 300 websites. We would kind of with a new partner, we would, I think, go to 450, something like that.
Yeah. So, it's been interesting to watch how quickly the growth has occurred because you get in front of the right people. And that's because I'm not a sales guy either. Abdul thinks I am, or I'm in charge of it, I guess now. But
you just become in charge of it, because you're doing a good job. So you've been given that kind of just keep doing that.
Great. Thanks. It's not something I'm very good at, but it's something that obviously just being here, it makes it much easier in the United States to go and be a part of these different things and these different groups. And I think I'm starting to see, as I'm mentoring, because now I'm actually a mentor in Josh's group as well, I'm actually pushing joint ventures, and people don't think necessarily that's a good idea. I was actually on a call yesterday. People were like, you shouldn't be pushing joint ventures. And I was like, hey, it's grown my business. That's how I partnered with all these people. That's what white label really is partnering with these people,
Yep.
right? And that's kind of what we've done. And I did that through a different mastermind. I was in a group with Darren Shaw, Mike Blumenthal, Joy Hawkins, some other big digital marketing people names, and they started referring business to me, right? And that was no different of how this is working out. And that's the only thing. Now I'm like, okay, now we need to go double down on this strategy. And I got to find other masterminds to be a part of. I got to bring value. That's I think the big thing in masterminds. You can't just go in and start selling your services. Otherwise it turns people off, right?
Yep. And those masterminds, masterminds where you can do that, they're not worth anything as well, where you just go in, you see 50 people there, everyone just spamming everyone else.
Yeah.
Those are you just leave. Kind of just press leave and you get out, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I think when I look at it from an outside, I think that's something that Josh has done really well. Kind of like you said, he doesn't prefer anything unless he kind of believes in it. So things like that, and having people like a very selected kind of an audience there, and not like a strategy of just everyone can spam everyone else. I think that's what maintains the quality as well, right? That's when if someone is saying something or someone is referring something, someone or some service, people really do pay attention. And that's the trust.
I think what's really
part.
For sure. And I think what he's done also is he set different levels in the group, right? So obviously I have different issues than somebody just starting their agency, right? And he addressed people differently in those different groups based on where you're at in your agency and how you're growing and things like that, which I think is a really smart way to run a mastermind. Because while it's fun and great to help people starting their business, I need somebody to help me as well, right? I'm not just starting. I've been doing this for 9 or 10 years. I need to find a way to grow. How's that going to be? Boom, this is what you do, whatever, right? To see that growth. And that's where having people like Jeff and Josh are awesome, right? And then I think the other big thing about masterminds, this is going to be a shout out to Jeff Fisher, is I hate Jeff, but I love him at the same time. And this is why, because we go to these groups we go to these weekly calls every week, and you sit in there and he calls on you, and you don't get to say, oh, I'm just here listening. I don't need, I'm good. No, he's like, okay, that's nice. What's your problem? And he well, makes you be uncomfortable, and you have to have a problem. And the good thing is you have to have a problem, because everybody does every week, right? We have problems constantly we're trying to solve. That's all we're trying to do every day. And I love the way he coaches, because that's kind of how I was coached, right? You're challenged. You have to be challenged when you coach. I feel like, and he doesn't move on until you have a question. It doesn't matter if you're a $5 million agency or have 0 clients. He wants people to bring questions, and he's going to answer them. And I think that's really cool. I think that's another cool thing they've done in their mastermind. What other things have you seen work well in masterminds that you've been in?
I think definitely like you mentioned, having that kind of a thing where questions, things like, because I've been part of a lot of masterminds that have died because of lack of engagement, right? Where not a lot of people are engaging, so things start fading out. I think having a lot of engagement from the top, right? The top people have to create the engagement. If you find a mastermind that has a good audience, spamming isn't allowed, a lot of engagement is happening. I think if you are in there and you're not kind of thinking about JVs, you're wasting your time, because I think that's what, if you are in kind of a mastermind where things are good, stuff is good, and you should believe in your product. Not saying that you should have a very bad product and think that it will work out. It won't. If you have a good product, you have to sell it, right? Even though, like, you don't like sales, I don't like sales, no one kind of, very few people like sales, right? But one of my mentors did tell me, like, all of you are sales. You are a salesman. Everyone is a salesman. No one can say I'm not a salesman, right? Or saleswoman, whatever, right? So
we had to sell ourselves to our wives. That's for sure.
That's what we're doing right now on this video as well. Even though,
yeah.
So I think that's the thing, right? If you have a good product, if you find a good mastermind, there is engagement. There are people that need your product, and there are certain kind of, because and I think I've seen a lot of, in my career as well, a lot of startups kind of ideas being built in mastermind groups as JVs and becoming big, because you are there, you can find people who can kind of accelerate you, and if you are there, you see in this group, okay, I have this, like the same thing, I have this problem, I need to find a solution for that, and this guy in that group kind of is the perfect fit for that. JVs just normally don't mean selling someone your product, right? JVs can mean like kind of complementing your services.
Well, exactly. That's what he was trying to solve, the problem of people stealing his clients for slow site speed, right? So it wasn't like I was really selling it. It was a solution he was looking for already, right? And that's your point. Like, sometimes it can just happen, right? It just happens naturally as you're in those groups. And I think what happened is Josh is in another mastermind group. Some guy brought up the issue that he has the site speed issue, because that's what agencies do, is they go after other people. First thing they look at is their site speed, because it's a super easy test to send to people. And then they're questioning their clients. So now Josh has solved that problem. It was actually one of his, like, if anybody follows Traction in EOS, it talks about rocks. One of his rocks for 2020 Q2 was to show green on green on GT metrics. And we helped him accomplish that rock before he even knew we existed. So it was something that, like you said, it's not like you're up there trying to, like, almost like a BNI, like a business network, where you're like, hey, this is what I do. Who needs my services, right? No, I was in there truly trying to learn.
You don't work out as well, right? So that's where natural, organic stuff happens, because if you have a mastermind group that has good people in it, there is good engagement. These things will happen organically. You don't have to push them, right? If you're there, if you have a good format for the mastermind group, and there's people talking to each other, like, there are bound to be organic stuff that will happen. That's what relationships are for, right? And that's what things will happen. But the thing is, I think people don't think about JVs, but I think when you're there, don't push it, but you should be open for it, kind of a thing, right? Because they can really accelerate a business. And I think we've seen it firsthand in WP Help. I've seen it in different companies that I've been with, that these JVs kind of can be, not just with mastermind groups, any kind of JVs that you do. Sometimes they might not result in direct sales, but they do accelerate a lot of things, because if you can get good people on board with JVs, you can fix your problems with JVs of certain type, two companies coming together fixing a similar problem, or it can be proper sales where you're just selling your business, like selling your services.
And since you're talking about JVs, now I will talk about a little bit about it, and I'll say there's a guy in our group that sold his business for whatever, over $5 million, his agency, because he had one joint venture. He had one guy that sent him leads over and over in his space, and it allowed his business to grow to 3 or 4 million. That's what you thought. Now, is that normal? No, but I don't think people think about joint ventures enough, right? And that's what I'm trying to build awareness when I'm mentoring people now is, hey, who do you know in this industry? Who could you reach out to? Who could you partner with, right? I was just on a mentoring call with somebody, and they said, hey, my cousin is actually a guy that does a lot of it, right? Like he's in the market. So like, well, you should reach out to him. That's a perfect joint venture. He's your cousin, right? Like, how can he help you grow your business? That's like the perfect of all worlds, right? So he actually landed him. He talked to his cousin. I'm like, you better land your cousin. If you can't land your cousin, you're probably not going to be able to grow your business, right? So he actually was able to connect with his cousin. Now he's going to refer business to him, and it's like that can change your business. That can make your business go like that, right? If you get one or two, what we've seen, we were plotting along at 10 to 15 sites a month, right? And we got these two joint ventures, and we've seen this bigger growth. And now we're actually going to hit a threshold, I think, in the next month. That's going to be one that I think is a benchmark, right? If once you hit 10K reoccurring revenue, that's one benchmark. The next benchmark will probably be 50, then it'll be 100 in my head, right? And I think Abdul has some of his own in his head of how he thinks the 10 should account for. I don't really play that. I think it's whoever's on the hosting solution, but it's going to provide. I think the joint venture, the Mastermind, has opened my eyes to how that's how I should sell. I'm horrible on the phone, cold calling people, trying to land clients. I need to join more masterminds, and then, like you said, it will just happen naturally as people ask you, "Hey, what do you do?" Oh, I run a hyper optimized WordPress hosting solution that guarantees 90 plus on GT metrics. Oh, some guy in the group's like, I've been looking for that. Right. And then that's how it happens. And like you said, it's not like you're cold calling it. And I pay to be part of this mastermind group. It's not like a free group on Facebook, right? This is something that has really good training as part of it. Like I said, I think that's something that's very important, is to have really good training to help you grow your business. And just real I've paid, I'd hate to say this, I'm going to say it though. I've paid 25 grand for a coach before, and they're not as good as Josh's, right? And Josh's platform and what he's building. So I truly believe in his product. This is not supposed to be about a plug for him, but it is, because I've seen success, and I've seen the training, and I've gone through the process, and I think everything he's teaching is great. So anything else you want to talk about masterminds? I know we kind of talked about joint ventures at the same time, and we said we may not do that, but I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think they do once.
I think joint ventures. Yep. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you find your friends in there, right? Like you're spending all this time together. Why not do business together if you can? That's kind of what ends up happening. So,
but I think,
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, joint ventures is like a larger kind of a topic where there are a lot of things, a lot of ways you can get joint ventures. Mastermind groups being one of them. Like you can land joint ventures with mastermind. So I think joint ventures is a topic that we will cover maybe later on in different videos as well, because I've seen this like kind of power a lot of companies. But masterminds like today is like a very good way to start building your kind of the skill set you need to land even bigger JVs, right? Because like big JV, like I have a friend who has a sportswear brand. He makes really good sportswear in the Middle East. Now he landed a JV a few months ago with DC Comics. So now, he got a partnership with DC Comics. So now what happened in the last 3 months? He's gotten like I think 7 more smaller JVs just because he got DC Comics. Because he can now show that I'm a sportswear brand and I have DC Comics. I make sportswear and I can print Batman or whoever I want. Like having those kind of sportswear where you have like kind of giving sportswear for comic fans, kind of that's the niche he was going after.
Yeah.
He got DC Comics. Now he has gotten like those regional smaller ones as well. And that has like kind of opened up so many doors for him, because before he couldn't get into the big gyms in the Middle East, like Golds and all that. They were like, oh, we don't want to put your product. Now they're talking. Because now they know, okay, DC Comics is on board. I think that's the power, like that's the kind of power.
Well, but we saw it with Josh too.
Yeah.
He signed up first. And now we had a bunch of like 4 or 5 people join afterwards. And then we got another big joint venture. And I assume we'll see kind of the same pattern, right? As they reach out and as they talk about our product, it's like you have all of these individual salespeople out there kind of selling for somebody that doesn't do sales. That's how I look at it, because I don't have that reach, right? My father-in-law always says your sphere of influence is how long you can reach, right? That's all you can really do. And having more people talk about your product is a
So
good thing.
just one
So
thing to add there. So that the thing is that these mastermind groups give you the skill set or the skills you need to learn to land these small. Like you said, if you cannot close your cousin, you might not be able to close anyone else, right? So once you're in a mastermind group and you're spending time, like you said, you become friends with these people. You know them, you know their problems as well, and
mhm.
if you can start closing them, you start learning the skills that you need. So then, when you're sitting in front of someone like DC Comics, can close them, kind of a
Yes,
thing, right? You build those
yes,
skills that are needed in a much more
yep,
controlled mastermind environment where if even if you kind of make mistakes, your friends, right? Like you people, you know each other, kind of things will
yeah.
remain under the radar unless you make like a big problem with someone, a big, much bigger JV. So I think that's where you kind of start learning the stuff, and then you can kind of move on to even bigger JVs. But JVs are like kind of one of very big acceleration method for companies, especially startups.
Yeah. And I think as you think, like one of the things, like somebody asked me the other day, hey, what's your job as a CEO, right? You do some coaching, but like bigger joint ventures or those types of things is what you should be focusing on, right? Like that's the big strategy as an owner or as a CEO of a company that you need to go and do is doing those types of things, is landing the DC Comics of the world, right? That's what he should be doing. He should be in those conversations. I mean, everyone wants to be in those conversations, right? So that's as a CEO or whatever you're doing, it's not necessarily sales. It's almost more partnership building, right? That's kind of what's the difference between that and JV? Really nothing, right?
Yeah,
Or
a
and like
fancier
you said,
word or a different
mastermind.
word, yeah.
Yeah. And the mastermind is just one of those ways to do that. I think it would actually be cool to talk about other ways that we can create joint ventures, because I grew my agency 100% on joint ventures. And I think, there's other ways. There's cold email, right? There's advertising. There's other advertising. There's different
Yep,
ways to
there's
grow things.
networking, like
So,
plain old networking as well. Like Mastermind could give
yep.
you a better environment for networking, but plain old networking also sometimes works. And I think like product as well, like what we were talking about last night, product-led growth, like having such a strong
Yes.
product that leads your growth. So that's also like if you have a
Yep.
really good product that's leading the growth, and like there is this kind of this concept that's in marketing as well, and I think Josh also, you also talked about it, is a dream 100 kind of a thing where you focus on that
Yes.
100. So that's like there in
Yep.
marketing as well, right? Because there's a lot of marketeers that follow that route, that take out the 100 companies you want to work with, create content, amazing content that is focused for them, and now you don't figure out, okay, how do I publish the content? First write good content, then figure out, okay, these are the 100 companies, how can I get it in front of them? Then you, okay,
Yep.
who the people are? Okay, these are the people. Can I get them on LinkedIn? Where can I get this content out in front of them?
Then you become omnipresent. Like that's a word from like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yes,
Like you're hitting them up on Facebook, you're touching base with them on LinkedIn, and they're like, geez, I see this guy's ads everywhere, because now you're retargeting or whatever, right? And
yeah.
you're like, you're not buddies, but at least you're acquaintances now. So if you do meet each other, it's like, oh, you're the guy. Yeah, yeah. And then it makes just the
Just
introductions for
do
somebody that's not a
just
sales
do a lot
guy.
of retargeting, but don't do it like Ty Lopez or someone like that. Who like you're just on every YouTube video, and you people get like kind of sick of your face. Just don't do that. But yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's a pretty good wrap on the power of mastermind groups and how it can accelerate your growth. We've definitely seen it. I hope my goal is one joint venture a month, and that might be too aggressive. I don't know. I think this month I hit two, and I'm running out of days considering it's the 25th. So, but I think I always shoot for the stars and hit the moon. You're doing all right. So that's my goal. We'll see how it keeps going and kind of go from there. But once again, you're kind of going through the growth process with us. Like I said, I think we're going to hit 10K. That's a big goal. I'm excited about that, revenue wise, partly because all I'm going to do is fund all that money back into the 15 people that we have hired now in Karachi, right? And that's kind of the idea is, could we maintain growth and hire the people until we get to at someday I'll make some money maybe, but we'll just maintain the growth, and we'll feed it back into the box or into the monster, and the monster grows, right? That's kind of
yeah,
the idea. And I think 10K was a big goal for us. I think our P&L will be around 15 or 20 grand. So we got to double that still to break even. And then after that, I think we'll be we'll be seeing where we're at then. I'm sure we'll be adding more people, or Abdul will need some more gadgets that he needs to buy. But
I need to
anyways,
fill this room even more. I want to like have stacks here.
yeah, he's already running a monitor Amazon shop out of his back there. Jeez. Anyways, I'm Michael. He's Abdul. Appreciate the time today. We'll talk to you guys later.